Okay. All right, it's recording. Woohoo!
Sweet.
I made it. How's your
How
week?
are you, Jonathan? Yeah. It's been awesome. It's been abundant, man. It's been filled with love and uh family. So it's been a good few days. What about yourself? How was your holidays?
It was great. We had a great holiday. We had only a few
Good.
of us, and it was just really nice. It was fun. Um, didn't eat too much, thankfully. We didn't have any like meat or anything like that over here, or any heavy things. So it felt great. That always makes the holidays better.
Yeah, I can't say the same. I feel the sludge from the holiday foods, but I give myself that every year, man. It's you know, most people in my family don't follow the same path that I do. So, um, eating the food that's available and just being happy and present is good for me. So,
Oh yeah, on Thanksgiving I learned my lesson. That's why I ate lighter for I still ate more than I usually eat.
right.
For sure. I've been eating a lot more. But uh so I go in and out of periods with eating.
Mhm.
So I'll eat a lot and then sometimes I'll eat hardly anything. And I'll drink turmeric and ginger, of course, almost every day.
Right.
Sometimes I forget. That's okay. But my body knows, our body knows when we're supposed to eat and when we're not supposed to eat. At least mine does. I feel like it goes in and out of periods of transformation. So it's like learn your lesson, and then you're I'm always learning lessons.
Right. Everything holds lessons, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
So what was a lesson you learned from the past few days in Christmas?
To be present. I think even unwrapping presents at the end, there was some um, wanting to get it done,
Hmm.
wanting to, because we go around in a circle, and wanting to unwrap more happened, and to like be able to breathe and slow that down and be able to be present and enjoy the fact that it took all year to get to another great Christmas, and like unwrapping some presents and enjoying them and enjoying each person's excitement, or how they express themselves whenever they open their presents. I think is super important. So it got a little bit pressed into a corner, which wasn't nice at the end. Didn't feel good. So like it's amazing to me uh, how when we press our reality like that and we're not present, we're not enjoying the process, how much it could be frustrating, or
Hmm.
get frustrating, not feel good. And our body is even telling us, hey, slow down, and we're not listening to that. Um, so, yeah. Yours?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to add on to that. I think it brings anxiety in a lot of people too. Um, Searching for that uh, wanting to be done or finish with something and thinking about what you have to do next instead of being present. I think that's what gives a lot of people the anxiety they don't even realize. So that's a beautiful lesson, brother. For me, expectation and judgment, I saw a lot of, especially when people opening gifts. I heard a lot of people explaining why they didn't get something else or why they wanted to get this, but they didn't. And, those expectations of what you think other people should feel when they open your gifts, I think is a huge lesson for everybody. And um, the insecurity of feeling like you're not doing enough for somebody. So uh, seeing that brought me a lot of lessons and how many times I've done that. How many times have I bought something for somebody and then just picked that gift apart? Even though when I bought it, I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, oh, this will be so perfect. But leading up to that, as they're holding it and they start to unwrap it, and you're expecting all these facial expressions and all these um, compliments, and you haven't even given the person a chance, and you're already putting limitations on the outcome of what that experience is going to be. So, I guess that ties into presence with presence. Just allowing yourself to know that that you bought from the heart, and that you don't have to judge yourself, and you don't have to put expectations on what you are going to receive back from that gift. So that was my lessons this year. Watching people just completely second guess themselves and dismiss a gift that somebody actually loves, but they may have not have gotten the right response, if you will, for them. So
Yeah, I saw I had went shopping with Julian, and whenever his gifts were being given like unwrapped, he found excitement. And before it wasn't so much excitement, because it's like me, like I don't so much like receiving as much as I do giving. I do now. I think that it's bridged a little bit for me is because I had a hard time receiving. So that's something that if you don't feel fully in the receiving mode or receiving, that in turns, if you can't receive what the universe has for us, if we can't receive what people around us have for us, we create that anxiety when we want to rush everything. So that kind of ties into what I said before. And then like whenever we are seeing people unwrap our gifts, we're a lot of times more giving than receiving. So like there's a balance in that. I think as we talk about these things, like if we look at Christmas, it's such a key pointer. I think we skip over it too fast. I think that's why this talk is so important, because there's so many lessons in that we just need to talk. We need to talk about it, and we need to slow down. So whenever he was opening his gifts, people are opening his gifts. He was very excited, and that was exciting to me. Like, in like when we don't have a gift, how it feels. Like just as it feels not so good. Like when everyone else is like you're opening presents and stuff, and then you have that expectation on what you should get. So it's a lot. How do you find yourself? How would you say is the best way to balance all that?
You there?
How would you say it was the best way to balance your emotions and thoughts and feelings in Christmas or in a situation like that?
So the video cut out temporarily, so I only caught the back end of that. If you could repeat that question, I'm sorry, brother.
Okay. I hope our signal's not getting cut. Anyway, so I saw that whenever we were getting gifts, it was hard. It was harder to receive gifts than give gifts. It's more awesome because we're always in the mode of giving, 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 and we have a hard time receiving, receiving, receiving. And a lot of times, I think we block ourselves off through trauma. That if we're through all the past experiences, receiving is traumatic. Like, what are they going to expect from me if I receive this gift from them? Like all the different attachments to receiving that we can't even receive are the fact that we're maybe making money now, maybe the fact that we're creating relationships now, the looking at the fact that I have an amazing relationship with Amy, and I had to say last night I had to talk about that with Amy and be like, I don't want to become complacent in my appreciation for you. Like that's another whole subject.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know my question. I'm just gonna let you roll.
How do you deal with the emotions of being in that moment, of not being able to receive? Was that your question? I feel like I heard that part of it.
Well, then that's what you heard. Go with it.
Okay. I think mindfulness is everything, and that's so hard in the moment, but really developing a mindfulness practice and diving into why it's so hard for you to receive, looking at those traumas, if that's what caused it, that can be a tough one. And I think it's relative to each individual of why it is hard for them to receive, whether it's insecurities or trauma from receiving something that you didn't necessarily want or desire in your life. But another thing that comes to me is understanding love languages. And one of the universal love languages is gifts and receiving gifts and giving gifts. And that's how you give your love, and that's how you receive love, by gifts. So I think for me, especially, I'm not, that's one of my lower love languages. So receiving gifts is a little more difficult because, especially with the materialistic understanding that I have now, and I have no desire for material things, it's kind of uncomfortable because there's nothing that I need more than connection with other humans. And that's not something you gift wrap and put in a box. So my reaction to a material gift is going to be a little different than somebody that's love language is gifts. So, there could be infinite amount of things of why it's hard for us to receive, but for me, it's just not up there on my fill my cup up language, So, I think that's something for everybody to look into and understand themselves more, is the universal love languages. And there's 5 that they write about. I'm sure there's more. I hate to limit things, but it's a really good book. I wish I knew who wrote it, but it's a good one to become mindful of yourself and your partner, because you may be doing everything for your partner that you think they need to feel love from you. But what I've discovered with my partner now is quality time is hers and words of affirmation are mine. So I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time with somebody that I love to feel their love if they just tell me and give me some compliments. So the problem I was running into, I was giving my fiance all the words in the world. Oh, you're so beautiful. You're so amazing. I love you. I appreciate you. But I was going and doing my own thing. So I kind of ran into a roadblock. It's like, where are we butting heads? And when I discovered that book is really what blew our relationship open. So I don't know how that drifted off to love languages, but I think it's something that everybody should look into.
It drifted. It didn't. It's okay because we got this. No, it's
Absolutely,
beautiful
brother.
what you said. As far as like a lot of people relate to, I related Christmas when I was younger to getting what I want,
Mhm.
and that people care. So if you didn't give me a gift, then I thought I was rejected.
Mhm.
A feeling of rejection. So it really ties into gifts. And then there's an insecurity also around buying gifts because of that. Um,
Mhm.
so not so much anymore. I'm just saying where I came from. But
Right.
a lot of people tie. So okay. So what I want to talk about is the fact that um, Christmas, I feel like Thanksgiving and Christmas are like nothing compared to what I do throughout the year recently.
Mhm.
Like I just want to keep going through Christmas and like forget about it. Like because every day I'm giving gifts. Like is me and you talking, is me and Amy achieving. It's me. Like if you see me on a daily basis with me and Amy, it's like when I was like, it's always giving, 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 receiving, receiving, receiving. And I noticed more and more that I'm getting and receiving so much abundance from all kinds of aspects of life, like everywhere. And I'm okay with that. I'm accepting of that. And I want to know more of how to do it. Like I want to know more of just being in it. I'm to how can I get more and more in my flow, because you know how we come back and out because we either have
Mhm.
a problem receiving or giving. So there's two main ties into actually being in the flow. um, and all that other stuff like breath work and all that stuff that I've done to get there, like we've been doing this to be able to achieve that, to where Christmas is just like almost I enjoy this, but when's it going to be over so I could continue
Right.
doing what I was doing before? Like I don't need a break. Like when you're doing what you love, I don't need a break. Right? Like,
It's almost like a distraction.
yes, it is a huge distraction. I feel like it's a huge distraction. I feel like I think if we don't play on the fact that we need to stop and observe and realize all of our insecurities that lied within Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that stuff, that we have a real problem. We're going to keep on cycling because it's a spiral. You keep spiraling around until you learn that lesson. So I think it's very big of us to be on this video right now talking about what it was for us that Christmas is, what it was for us, the lessons that we learned, and where we're at and where we're going. I think that's, and where we've been, the whole shebang.
Absolutely. I think speaking on what you're talking about, it being a distraction and giving throughout the year, I think you see a lot of people overcompensate with the amount of gifts and the amount of material things that they overindulge in, whether it be with their kids or their spouse or whatever. And you know, money is energy. So when you feel like you've got to dump all this energy into these material things, I think that really should be something that people should look at in the terms that maybe you're not giving the energy throughout the year. Now you feel you have to overcompensate with material things because you're not giving it in presence, actual being there with people, the true presence. And I think that's something that everybody should address. If you feel the need that you got to go over the top with gifts for your children. You know, I know, and I have friends that just spend ridiculous amounts of money and put themselves in debt and stress for the first few months of the year, just because, to me, and my limited perspective of their reality, it feels like they're overcompensating. So I think that should be something that everybody should maybe look at in within their own life. If somebody's overspending on you, or you're the one overspending that energy at those times of the year, I think that's a beautiful point you made, brother, as far as giving throughout the year.
Well, they're prone to it because of their existence. They're prone to it because of the way their parents and the way they grew up and how they have to compensate with that. You know, I'm going to hit on a huge point right here. So in this house, we're all working our own fields. Like we all have some kind of things that we're starting to sell. We're all starting to make our own money. We're all have platforms that we're working on, whether it be just starting out or having done a lot of sales, and all different things that we like to sell. So teaching our family to make their own money so they can invest, because everything's an investment. The way you think is an investment. The way you eat food is an investment. The way you make a phone call and talk is an investment. What are we going to talk about? The way we're talking intuitively instead of forcing. Like I'm training myself even right now while talking to you. Like, hey, don't just let it go. You know, like trying to hold on to topics instead of just let them flow. So admitting that. It's an investment to admit things, you know, right as they happen. So really, I've been investing in like the spaces in the house. Like we got a place where we send things off and print things out to put shipping labels on. We each have a desk that we work on, and throughout the house, that we have the systems that we need to grow. And I think that is a huge point to people, us not having to buy gifts for each other anymore. You know, if we do, it's for investments that are going to grow you and not just, oh, hey, I'm going to buy you a candle and I don't even know what freaking candle you like, you know, like, and you smell it and they're like, eh. Because I've been to the candle store, you could pick up 1,000 and not one smells good to you. So picking out a candle for someone's kind of semi-useless, you know, versus like, I know that you need a notepad to take notes, or I know that you need an iPhone 5 Pro. So let's talk about that. I know that you need a laptop Mac so you could make more sales and get you going, and it's more comfortable, and you can airdrop and you could easily add things and videos and stuff, cut out a lot of time to continue where you're going. So that stuff throughout the year adds up. And then at Christmas, this is just the way that I'm going to be running it, is spend less and make more meaning. spend less and make more meaning, to where you could put that money and that transformation somewhere else. But what about cards? What about writing something out? What about taking pictures throughout the year and already having your Christmas presents done throughout the year that have a picture of you and them, and something that says something that complements their growth, or something that inspires them, and throughout the year, all the different presents. Like I bought, I think, more stuff for everyone here than throughout the year than I did. I for sure did, rather than Christmas. And the stuff that I got for Christmas wasn't, to me, amounting to what I've done throughout the year, because when I'm not at Christmas or thinking about Christmas, I'm thinking about more of an investment. So this next year, I'm going to think more about keeping my investment wise, straightforward, rather than veering off into distractions and thinking, oh, I'm going to spend $200 at Marshall's right now. Like, I'm just going to walk through here and buy everyone a gift. Like, that's meaningless. Pretty much meaningless.
So, absolutely. That's just energy coming from your pocket instead of from your heart, right?
Yes.
So you have the matrix energy that you're giving people, or the true soul energy that you're giving people. So that's a really beautiful point, brother. Really powerful, and something that people should, if you're listening to this, really step back and sit with that bit of information that you just shared. Is what is the energy that you're giving people? Is it monetary, or is it from the heart? That's a beautiful point, brother.
And you're talking about, we're in a financial, maybe I found more financial stability this year than I have in a year. I don't know how. I just have had enough time to sit inside the house and sit with myself to say, okay, this is what I could do, this what, rather than going out into nature, and which I love to do, and sitting by the river, and being out in nature. I actually had to come inside, and which is in turn figuring myself out so I could figure out this stuff. And so a lot of us are having, so my point to this is that a lot of us are having financial instabilities. But we have $3 to go buy a card. We have a picture phone and Staples to go get a picture printed off, for like 79 cents. And I could guarantee you that so many people just gave up. They're so used to giving up. We're so used to giving. I'm saying we're, because all of us have given up at some point with something, because we can't think past it, because fear and doubt and all that stuff plays such a strong role when we allow it, because we're investing more than that, than into our creativity, into jumping in and saying, you know what, I'm going to creatively write a letter right now. And yeah, the inspiration's not going to hit you. You have to be the inspiration. You have to start writing, and it will just start inspiring. You'll start inspiring and writing things that you didn't know. So getting past that, being able to inspire your own creativity, not letting inspiration visibly coming to you at some point and making that happen. No, that's never going to come. You got to be willing to start writing. You got to be willing to go out and buy a card. You got to be willing to take the picture. You got to be willing to be in your creativity. And I think so many of us are just in fear and doubt so much, investing in that, than we are in our own creativity. And that's what really drives us and to a place that we really don't want to be, and away from our ability to spend $20 on everyone's presents versus spending 200 and being like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing, speaking of money, that blocks people from living in an abundance and an abundance mindset with money is the negative stigmas we put behind spending money, and the stress that we put behind spending money, and that those negative emotions and negative feelings that you tie behind paying bills and spending a little extra on yourself because maybe you worked really hard. I think those are the very things that block us from living in an abundance of monetary energy, is those very stresses that society tells us we should have, with paying bills. And if we change our mindset and say, oh, now I get to pay these bills for the home I live in. Now I get to spend this on myself and buy my sketch pad or buy my tripod for my phone so I can make videos now. Getting out of your own way, even with shifting your perspective of money can change your whole life, and that's one thing that I share with people. And it really, you see the light bulb go off. It's like, man, I have so much negative thought and emotion towards money. Hey, maybe that's what's blocking me from being abundant with money. And I'm not saying that shift in perspective is going to make it rain millions of dollars in your life, but it'll sure make life a little easier when you are down and out and you have to spend your last $3 filling up your tank of gas. Well, it won't be so bad. I get paid Friday, whatever it may be, the little shifts you make in your life with your perspective on that.
It's amazing because when we're in that doubt perspective, we forget that one simple change in the way we think, the one that could change everything in a matter of a day. I mean, all over the world, it happens every day to a lot of people. It's happened to me definitely this year. It's happened to a lot of people this year, yourself, myself. And to think that every time now I just sell on the marketplace. I have little Hot Wheels and stuff right here. I sold this thing this morning. It's a beautiful pink classic car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right? For 17 bucks.
That is sweet.
17 bucks. Nice, man. They paid the shipping and it's just sitting right there. And I think I got it for probably like $1,
Right.
And so I just turned my dollar into $17 and they paid the shipping. Right. And it gives me something extra to do. So now instead of thinking about buying stuff, I'm thinking about selling stuff. I'm focused now on investing my time more into going out and buy. Like I like to go buy things. Instead of going out and buying things for myself, I'm now buying for buyers, because these buyers are going to buy my stuff. And so I just switched it around, and I have a great relationship with money. Money loves flowing through. Like money is, everyone's money is my money. Mm-hmm. Everyone's money is my money. It's no different. I just have to show up with the right products. And even like, it's not only Christmas that people buy stuff. That was bought right after Christmas. I had people buy 5 motorcycles on Christmas. Like, so, and while I'm sleeping, I have people buy Hot Wheels and stuff like that. And I'm sleeping and I wake up, or books. And I wake up and they're sold. And so when I go to that gas tank, I don't think that I have to even wait for a paycheck. I know that I just sold that for 17 bucks, and I always keep my gas tank full. If you think about your wallet, as much as it costs 35 cents to put my debit in for gas out in California, it costs 35 cents just to accept them to use a debit. I don't care. I fill up my tank. I keep it full. It usually only costs me like $7 to fill back up. I don't even let it goes down a bar. I'm back at the gas station before night, because in the morning I like to feel full. Those are the little things that we could change in our life every day to make our life full and not run on empty, not sit there and wait on empty. Because guess what? When you run on empty and you ain't feeling abundant and you don't only have $50 to your name, now you got to go spend that 40 something dollars on a full tank of gas and then feel like you have a lack. And then guess what? That's an investment in lack. Rather than, and most people are like, wait, you have to drive over to the gas station. No, it's much more than just driving over to the gas station. It's the fact that you can, and the fact that you're filling up, and the fact that that is teaching you to be abundant. That's teaching you that you could go anytime and get gas, not only once every week and then wait till you run on low and go over there. I go over there because I love to go over to the gas station and put a few bucks in. It keeps me full. That's just one thing that I do to have a relationship with value
and abundance.
Yeah,
staying full. That's beautiful, brother. I'm the same way. I get to a half a tank and it's like, oh, I should get gas. People are like, what you have a half a tank? It's like, well, you never know. You never know.
You never know. And whenever you're on empty, it's kind of cool, because when you're on empty, the sand and the different particles are sitting at the bottom of your gas tank, kind of like your thoughts processes. When you get low, all of those particles start showing up telling you you're freaking worthless and you can't afford this and those are like those little particles at the bottom that get sucked in through your thought process. And when you keep it full, those particles don't exist. They're not there. They don't get sucked into your whole system of thinking and being. So it's very to me, everything has symbology, meaning. There's meaning behind everything. So that's another way to put meaning. Like what would money be like for you if you were to go on a date with it? Like right now, I would want to have a conversation with money. I would want to know more. I would want to know more about the market. I would want to know more about what I personally could do to bring more value to you, what I could do to dance with you, what I could do to make sweet love to you. It's a romantic relationship, like I want to know what it is to me that I could do for money. Because I look at everything now, because Trump wrote a book about he looks at all his relationships romantically, because in a romantic relationship you don't leave it you bring it communication, you bring it love, you don't leave it in tranny. So he looks at everything. So I listened to the audiobook, and it really brought me to like starting to want to look at even my relationship. Like, how can I make my romantic relationship with Amy much more romantic? We're starting to dance twice a week. We're going to start dancing lessons in the living room, things like that. Like, I want to spend time with you. I would like to learn things too. So I'm bringing what I like to do with what you like to do. And what we both like to do is spend time with each other. She's been wanting to dance. I've been wanting to learn to dance. So I'll be able to dance better with her, and I'll be able to learn to dance. So those are wise investments. But back to money. What would you do if you were to go on a date with money? What would that look like?
Communication, man, you nailed it. Any relationship, and your and I's relationship, it's all about communication and being open and vulnerable and just sharing yourself. So I would share myself with money and know that I would receive what I'm putting out in return. So communication is everything. And setting boundaries is another one. Maybe not the first date, don't go on your first date like, hey, this is what I expect and this is what I want, but gradually having those conversations of what is expected in that relationship is a huge thing. Because if we don't set boundaries and, let the other person know through communication where we're at and what we're feeling and what thoughts are going through our head, then we're just left with a guessing game. And then in comes the stress and the doubt and the fear, because to me, man's greatest fear is the unknown. Because I don't know what's going to happen. So communication can take the edge off of that fear of what's next. So I think you nailed it right on the head with having some conversation.
Yeah, we nailed it. Right. We're nailing stuff, man. Communication. So like, first is with ourselves, because the communication that we involve with ourselves, leaving no stone unturned. Like, if you have an issue right now, instead of going past it, because I swear I put a box. It's like a few books right now because I got to post them, but I had a whole box right here I had brought in, and it threw me off so bad by not dealing with it, which is communicating with it to myself. Communication comes in all kinds of different forms. It's not only verbal, it's mind, body, and spirit. It has to do with everything. It has to do with whether I'm paying attention to this. It could have to do with attention. Communication could be the attention that you give to something, and communication could be an intention that isn't getting you the value you want out of it, or it could be extreme value. So I'm not going to say bad or good. I'm going to say whether you're getting the value out of it or you're not, so
yeah, absolutely.
I didn't give it the attention that it deserved and the communication it deserved. And then I did, and it freaking lit me back on fire, because it really, one bad communication could throw off your whole operation. So like just one thing. It's like in the military, if you have a whole troop of and you're in a zone and you have one bad communication, it could hurt everybody in one form. You know that.
Absolutely. And intention is everything, and using your voice in relationships, because so often we want something differently, but we don't know how to use our voices. And I think that too stems from childhood and being told and programmed that, you're just a kid, just go with what everybody else says. And we have all these authorities in our lives that squash our actual authentic voice. So setting intention and using your voice on that first date with money, set your intention with money. What is it? What kind of relationship do you want? Do you want to, do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to live comfortably? Do you, setting that intention and then putting in the work? I think that's a huge thing that people miss, and is so powerful, is making your intention known to your partner, to your friends, to the universe of what exactly you want out of life. Because we go through life just free floating, day to day. I don't really set intent. And then life starts throwing us curveballs. It's like, why is this happening to me? It's like, well, you never set an intent. So you're going to get random shit. And sometimes it will be shit thrown your way. So I think that'll help people really live a more fulfilled life and live an authentically happy life, not a materialistic, look at me, I'm so happy type of life. It is setting your intent with everything, even if it's your morning, your day, your spouse, your job. What exactly is it that you want from money, your spouse, or your job, whatever it may be? So I think that's another thing that can be really powerful in unlocking your most fulfilled life for people.
There, absolutely, and there's so many lessons along the way. There are so many lessons. Like you're saying that you want this, and then the lessons start showing up, and we ditch them. We ditch the lessons, and we start. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes within drifting, and so drifting off and doing different distractions are actually the lessons to throw you back on to track to figure things out. I've done it with drugs. I've done it with alcohol. You're learning your lesson. You're learning how much you don't want to smoke a cigarette. I was into smoking cigarettes, and I had to get to the point where I was like, no, I don't like to smell. I hate to smell. I have to brush my teeth every time that I smoke, and that I just all around. And then I hate not having the energy after you smoke, you have no energy. So right. All those learning those lessons are on track. So a lot of times not beating ourselves up for being off, what we call off track, because is it really off track? Is it really off track? And then we have to understand that the money is a byproduct of accepting ourselves. The money is a byproduct of accepting yourselves, of knowing that you are enough, of saying that. If you keep saying to yourself you're not enough, if you keep saying that, not accepting the acceptance within yourself and saying that I'm doing a great job, or I'm making sales right now, that's great, and starting to say those things to yourself instead of I'm not great, and that I'm not all these things, then you're feeding that ship. You're going to keep learning lessons but it could be faster. It could be a faster learning curve, and just starting to say, you know what, I'm going to start saying that I am enough. I'm going to start looking at myself in the mirror and looking myself in the eyes and getting excited and saying, whoa, I exist right now. That's amazing. I'm a bunch of particles right now floating around, and out of those particles comes creation, and in creation I could create and creatively express myself right now. That's amazing. Just that thought alone is absolutely beyond thinking that you're nothing and that you don't exist, and that you don't exist because no one's accepted you. No one's gonna accept you except yourself. Like no one's going to be able to accept you. The only person that's ever going to show up for your acceptance is yourself. That's it. And after that, what is accepting you after that, you're going to notice, was yourself. Because if everything that wasn't accepting you whenever you weren't accepting yourself is just a byproduct of you, how you think about your reality. And then you have the, I think that I'm amazing, and I think that I'm enough, and I think that I am just all this, and all those people come and start saying, hey, you're doing a great job, and hey, you're excelling, and oh my gosh, dude, you're amazing, I freaking love you, I appreciate you, you're an amazing speaker, you're amazing, you're just full of love, you're full of compassion, I can't wait to see where this goes. That showed up because you started accepting yourself. That showed up, us doing this video right now showed up because we chose to accept ourselves instead of let our past define where we're going. We started saying, hey, you know, I've been through all that shit. Now it's going to be a hell of a ride expressing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can
Absolutely
express it all.
Right. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think what we're doing here is really powerful in creating an authentic space for people to accept themselves, you know, being that mere reflection of certain aspects of people. And I think you stated it so eloquently, and I appreciate you and your wisdom that you're sharing in these videos. Just the fact that we're creating together out of nowhere. Like, you just messaged me one day. I'd never talked to you or seen you before in my life. For people that are watching and like wondering how we got connected, it was just a divine connection of acceptance of self, right?
Oh, dude, right back at you. Everything you said. Reflection.
Absolutely, brother.
You're gonna say
absolutely.
Something right
So let me. Yeah. What was it? You know, it doesn't look like you spend a lot of time on Facebook. So how I guess is my question. We never really talked about that. Like, how did that come to fruition for you,
brother? Trust, and I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in universal trust. You know, you're trusting, and it's reflecting. Your trust is reflecting back to my trust, and that's where we showed up. And I don't even think we were friends on Facebook. And that's the weirdest part is
right.
You can't, like, I don't even know where the hell you came from, but I do know where you came from. Like, there's a part that says, I don't know where you came from, but it only lasts like 2 seconds for me because I know. And then you hear all the backlash. That's like, I really know where you came from. I really know where you came from. And we've been in this forever. We've been in this spiral for eternity. And for people that don't know what that means, that don't know energy cannot be destroyed nor recreated. It always was and always will be. It could transform from one matter to another. So when our two matters match up and we got trust and you got trust, we transform into some creative power that we get to choose out of that. We get to express it. So as we grow, there's going to be more people that show up that are going to be in that frequency that want to create. And also we're inspiring many other parts of the spiral to do the same thing because we're not the only one making the phone call right now. We're not the only ones. There's millions right now making phone calls and connecting and actually multi-universes. So I could say quadrillions and
infinite.
Infinite possibilities.
Absolutely.
It's just, you are the creative expression. You are the seer. You get to, we are right here, right now, because we chose to be, because we chose to trust rather than not trust. We chose to take the phone call and show up because we choose to show up. So that's why we're here right now. It's because of our choices. Does that answer?
That's so beautiful, brother. Oh man, yes, divinely, brother. Divine answer, man. I love that. And the analogy I like to use is like a radio station. You can tune into a certain frequency, and that frequency of abundance and love and trust that you speak of is, we're listening to the same station, you know,
absolutely,
to put in layman terms.
And you know what's crazy? You know, all that nonsense jargon stuff It's not nonsense. It's nonsense to me now, but it's not nonsense because I got to use it to create the message to get to people. But to me, it's I got to make sure these candles aren't burning the back of my laptop. Thank God it's metal. Anyway, I love candles in the morning. Absolutely love them. So now that we trust, and now that we're acceptance of ourselves, now I'm going to go off like crazy this year. Because before I was doubting, I was in fear, I was kind of slow. I'm starting to rail around things. I'm able to sell things. I'm able to do these phone calls. I'm able to have my clients on one-on-ones and speak to them and make those. Dude, every single one of my clients has got clarity in their life, which I think is absolutely amazing. I don't have so many clients that I can't deal with, but I absolutely love every single one of them. We've developed a relationship and a rapport at a deeper level because I'm helping them come into the self. Like I'm helping them, like it's so beautiful. So I'm going to expand that. Like think about just letting go of all that fear and all that doubt and taking your creativity and your expression wherever the heck you want to take it and just boom, 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 boom. Like sky's the limit, man. They used to say I was ADHD. Oh no, I was just underwhelmingly annoyed by the system. I was freaking causing havoc because I could handle so much more than the annoying, antagonistic circumstances you're putting upon me and expecting me not to react.
Right.
So now I don't have that. So I want to show other people that let's go off and let's create instead of sit there and doubt and fear. It's like, take the opportunity, whether you're going to get said yes or no. Like there's an infinite amount of possibilities. If it doesn't work out, keep going, keep readjusting, keep adding to, keep going. Like there's no amount of things and that's where we have to, the things that you could do, that's where we have to accept ourselves. That's where we have to get past that fear and that doubt and stuff and realize that we don't only have to do one thing in life. We don't have to just become a fireman. We don't only have to just create a relationship with someone else and then never create the one with ourselves. Like, and then break up and then buy one house or buy one car. And no, you create a relationship with yourself first, which is putting God first. If you're the image of God and all of creation is coming through you, then you cannot be separate. And I want to say that to everyone right now. You are the image of God. Whatever God means to you, okay, let's take God out of the equation. You are the particles of matter happening right now. And how the hell can you ever be indifferent from that? How can you, I will give you all my money and all my possessions and myself if you can convince yourself and myself, if you can convince me, not yourself, because everyone can convince themselves of bullshit, that you are separate from matter. You are separate from the matter that's happening right now, that you aren't the reality that's happening right now, that you are the creator of your own reality and your thoughts are actually creating the way you're feeling. That your thoughts are turning into your emotions and your emotions are turning into your sickness or health, like all that stuff. But you are the image of God. You are, and it's plural because, and it's to me, it's one. You're all connected there, but there's multiple connections. There's multiple arenas happening, and it's so vast, but it's all inclusive. Like you're all connected to it. So you're all expressions of God. That's why we should treat our neighbor as ourselves. That's why we should look at people with really loving hearts instead of our hate and hatred for one another or the things around us, or looking at, like you were saying in another video, politicians or policemen as if they wake up and wanted to become an asshole. Like, no, they didn't. They just got stuck in a system that happens to have a lot of uncommunicated issues, and the communication is brought with it sadistic attributes, which we could communicate if we fall in love with ourselves. If we're in love with ourselves, putting God first, because it says in the Bible, it says in different things, put God first. then put everything else. Because if you put God first, everything else within yourself, put yourself first, everything else makes sense. Everything else starts unfolding for you. Your love for life starts unfolding because it's all a reflection of what you've done on the inside of your temple, and starting to take care of our temple and eating right and communicating and doing our dang best to show up for people like us and listening to us and listening to ourselves and doing what we need to expand our consciousness within ourselves will expand the consciousness on the outside, which will unfold that communication. And our and the way we communicate, like I said earlier, isn't just verbal. It's, I'm done focusing on the fear. I fixed that now, because in my reality, I'm not focused on fear. Now I've communicated with it. I'm not giving it the energy. So now it's transformed. One energy transforms from one out to another. We can't get rid of it. We could transform it though. We can't lock it up and inject it and put it in a corner. That's not going to work. We need to, we are doing it. We are doing it. I could say whatever I want on this video. It's happening with or without my voice. And it just happens to be better with my voice because it feels good to me. So we transform it by stopping basing it around fear and base it around love and communication with ourselves and loving ourselves. And so now, where's the fear? It's transformed into love. It's transformed.
Absolutely.
So fear.
What a power.
Therefore, I just want to say real quick, therefore, fear is love. Hate is love. Everything that's disgusting in the world is transformed back into love. So that everyone that thinks that fear and all that stuff is really bad and it's just going to go away, and that, no, the way you got to transform it is by loving it, accepting it. As hard as it may sound, I had to accept my dad, my foster, my stepmom, all that stuff. I had to accept them to accept myself and to transform everything that I know into love, and seeing the whole situations in love instead. So it just transforms like that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful message this year, especially with all of the chaos and fear that's going on in the collective. Is, I've had a lot of people ask me, how are you doing? How's this year been? And it's like, I know you feel this way. You've put in the work. You've taken care of your temple. This year has been a wonderful year for me. I haven't been gratefully, I have not been affected by the outside noise. And I think that's a testament to the work that we put in over the last few years and over many lifetimes. So I think that's a really powerful message that you just gave, especially this year, because there's so much fear and so much propaganda and so much things going outside of ourselves that it's really time. And if you look at and try to find the silver lining in this year, it's slowed people down. It's taken people back to their homes, back to their families. It's eliminated some of the distractions with sports going away for a while and all these things that didn't really matter in our lives, the entertainment, it's brought us back to our hearts. And that's by design. That's not a byproduct of the fear. So I think that really speaks to what you're saying. It is all coming back to love and how you choose to receive this past year. Do you live in fear and let the outside external programming become your reality, or do you start to program from within and from your heart and love and transmute that fear into love by doing the work, by breathing, by eating properly? And it all comes full circle to that powerful message, man. So that's really beautiful, brother.
Right back at you. Such beautiful, absolutely, creative words. And through our experiences that we know how to say, like you'd only know how to say that and that's why we match up, is because we could say these things. I can't talk to someone and get the same effects that is in doubt and fear. I would pull a whole different conversation. It would be like my one-on-ones when someone barely starts with me, that you think, right, oh no, they're not going to get clarity in their life. And all of a sudden, then the first session, they have some clarity. In the second session, I already got them like pumped up and juiced. And I really have to pay attention to where they're at. I really have to pay attention to and be accepting of where they're at. Not, oh, you're there and you got to get here. No, like, let's take little tad bits of knowing and implementation. Most of my things are implementation into your life, like the way that you're drinking, the way that you're eating, asking you how you're living your life in the first place and what you want.
Right.
So yeah, it's just been an amazing journey. This Christmas has been amazing. But next year is going to be even better. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know if I'm going to have Christmas. I don't know. So I just want to say that to add on to how we met, just for people that don't know, is that you work with the youth, right?
Yes.
In juvenile hall.
Yes.
I was a youth in juvenile hall. Right? Mm-hmm. I was wanting to go in the military so bad, but didn't. Right before I was about to go to boot camp, I got a hole in my foot. So I always wanted to be. Then I got beat by the police in 2015, which then I got to talk to you, and you're like, hey, I'm an open ear, which maybe we'll have more talks about that, because I felt like I could have even went deeper, because it's like I never accepted the fact that I didn't get heard. I never got heard by one police officer. I never got acknowledged that court systems said, get out of here, and even sentenced me, and accepting their non-communication to being able to sit in front of you and communicate. So the universe knowing I needed that, I know I needed that. So the more we talk on that, so like, and then guess what? You just got acknowledged for teaching breathing and meditation to juvenile hall, which I've been wanting to do. I tried to already talk to them, and they're like, nah, like they don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that change, because it'll change whether the kids come in and fund them anymore, fund their jobs, because they won't. If you know how to control your breathing, So anyway, that's going to go. I just acknowledge the fact. That we're on the same wavelength with everything. Look at that. Like we're completely in the same alignment, and growth. Like our growth and awareness is in the same plane. And there may be things that you're resonating with that, no, there are different stories. There's different ways, because if they were both the same exactly, we would only be on one side of the screen.
Right.
But we're supposed to. And what's even more beautiful about that is that you affect military, you affect police officers, you affect the juvenile staff and stuff like that, because you're in it. Mm-hmm. I affect the foster youth and the juvenile hall kid that was on the other side where you're teaching. You're teaching to them. You're teaching to me right now. Like there's people in juvenile hall that are aspects of myself, and that I resonate maybe with them more than they resonate with you. And so there's going to be people on this video that resonate with me and say, I really like John. John, I really resonate with. And Chad, I resonate with, but John really hits home for me. And then there's going to be people that say, John's kind of hippie-ish. John loses me sometimes. And I don't get some of the things he says. But Chad, I get everything he says, is because they resonate with you. They've had the same construct of life and timeline as you have. So I think that's what matters, is like, I don't get intimidated by everyone getting up and speaking or starting to make videos. Like I wish everyone would start showing up more and more. Mm-hmm. I know that they will, because it gives them more aspects of waking the self up. It gives them more people to resonate with. There's going to be people that hop on the video and just turn it off because they don't like either one of us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
True.
Absolutely right. That's one thing. So I do a podcast. So it's called Lights at the Round Table. And we had a guest on. He is a combat veteran, and now he runs a operation called Operation Breathwork, teaching breathing to veterans with PTSD and whatnot. And it was really powerful. And he made a beautiful reflection and realization in his journey, that when he started to get this recognition in the different field, his ego got back involved, and it kind of led him off his path, because now all of a sudden people are like, oh, teach me. And Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Drawing a blank.
Breathe.
So he I don't know where I was going with that, but anyways, really, really powerful interview with self reflection. Now it's coming back, but he talked about that pedestal, and I just had to remind him that is he's in such a powerful position to affect so many people that have closed minds, being a veteran field. That his work is powerful, and he didn't need to stop it because he had talked about wanting to quit for a while because he felt it feeding his ego. So that it was a really powerful conversation because people that aren't going to resonate with either of us, this guy's a big, I don't want to call names, but big meathead, what you would call a meathead, tattoos all over his body. And there are going to be people and men that recognize and resonate with him. So that's a beautiful point that you made, man, because there are going to be plenty of people that get on here and like, what the hell are these two guys talking about?
Oh yeah, so a lot of people are thinking about what they're thinking about while their other person's thinking about what they're thinking about while they're thinking about their reaction or how they're going to speak instead of actually listening actively. So that's the biggest downfall for so many people, is they're overactively thinking about what they're thinking about, how they're going to respond, and never actually having a conversation, but having a really shallow based conversation, because it creates a lot of insecurity through actual communication. And that's a reason, because our body's telling us this isn't the way. And a lot of times we get insecure and go with it and don't have that conversation. So that happens to a lot of people when they hear us and stuff. They don't actually hear us. It's like when you're reading a book and you're thinking about something else and you've read a few paragraphs, but you didn't read any of it. And you're like, wait, how did I just act like I read this last two paragraphs, but I'm sitting here thinking, and then you go back and reread it without thinking about anything. And you're like, oh shit, it's a trip.
Right.
It's a trip how we're programmed to do that. So I've been hearing a lot that the golden ages are upon us, and that Aquarius and all that stuff. And I've heard this several times, that we're going to be traveling soon, that we're going to be we're going to fix our home, America. And then we're going to travel around the world, and we're going to fix different homes. We're going to teach breathing, and we're going to do some really amazing stuff. We won't be stuck at one job. We'll be put in our positions. Like, you won't be just at that juvenile hall. You'll be teaching. There won't be locking up kids anymore. That's for sure. They're already starting to do that in certain places.
Can I share something just on that point right now? I don't mean to cut you off, but we are doing that in Ohio. We are doing that in Ohio. It's called JDAI. And what we're doing is basically taking nonviolent crimes, and we're basically just citing these kids to rehab facilities and to different placements where they can get the treatment, rather than sticking them behind a cell door for weeks and months at a time. So it's happening, brother. The new paradigms are upon us.
Oh yeah, because it's like, wait, what's worse crime? You did something so minute, but then you go in there and get tortured by other kids that are like pretty vicious. There's some pretty vicious, because they've had that done to them. And if you look at their past record, you'll see that they only got put in there for something stupid, but then went in there and started defending themselves. And then you're blaming them, sending them off to CYA and all that stuff, instead of like realizing where they're coming from. And it's from you. It's from us. It's from the judges, and I'm saying you as judges, and us as the people that I'm going to take responsibility for too. I want absolute responsibility for everything, because it gives me the ability to respond to anything, not the fact that I'm taking blame. It's different. I take responsibility for looking at these kids and being like, they shouldn't be locked up at all. They don't, and a judge doesn't sit there, and a lot of judges, they're so into just fastness, seeing cases, and getting out by lunch and the day done, and seeing so many kids, that they forget to look at where this, like actually having a communication with this kid and saying, what made you do this? What happened? What happened with you? Like, what do you need? And how can I implement my funding that I have into getting you a new computer and helping you build your marketing business and helping you open a mechanic shop, or getting you involved with a mechanic that say he's too young, getting you involved to set up with someone that's going to teach you how to run your own mechanic shop, or and like services that actually you're just looking for as a kid when you have an overactive imagination. So we're dealing with a lot of judges and stuff and court clerks and all that stuff that have no imagination. They're just obeying, doing their job. That should be a crime.
Right.
You should be going to jail, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So I really look at this as very passionate to me, is to see these kids not having that happen. That I do see us getting up and teaching these programs some breathing and hopefully going with each other some places, like going.
Yeah.
And even the guy that you were just talking about, the big old guy, like going up in the VAs together, like and teaching staff and stuff, like how to teach breathing and stuff like that in different aspects, and training the trainers to do this stuff is what I think our position more is like doing less of the training bigger crowds, bigger amounts of people, instead of just doing one-on-ones with where we're at will be, I think, the bigger aspect for us. That's what I see happening as where we're at and accepting where we're at. I see where we're going and where they're going to need us for sure. Absolutely. Just my perspective, putting that out there.
Absolutely, brother. And no, that's a beautiful perspective. And I'm open, that, and that's why we're having this conversation. And I think it's so important, the point you touched on with the judges, and they take away the human aspect of it without listening to these kids. I've sat in court so many times where the kid doesn't even get to speak. It's all filtered through the attorney, and the attorney's just talking legal jargon with the judge, and the kids leaving courtroom like, I didn't get to say anything. We're not letting these kids be heard. And so many of these kids, when you are committing crimes and doing these things, people got to understand that hurt people hurt people. So these kids have experienced trauma, and oftentimes they don't have a household with active parents. A lot of times the parents are drug addicted or abusive, or, and we put all the weight on the kids. And as adults, it is a crime. That is an absolute travesty, to put all this weight on kids when we're the ones failing these kids by not teaching them the important things like emotional intelligence and breath work and the fundamentals of life. We're not teaching these kids. It's suck it up. You should know better. You should do better. What a failure. And I'm so grateful that this is such a powerful time to be alive. And we are shifting into new paradigms and getting to see the old paradigms crumble. And as painful as that is, if you're focusing on the light and the beauty of life, what a powerful time to be incarnated on this earth. Painful for a lot, but it's the darkest before dawn, right?
Absolutely.
So being in that birthing canal of Aquarius, birth is a painful experience, and some would call it traumatic to the child. But then after the birth, you have your whole life and you create, and I think that's what people need to understand is these times are painful. But if you talk to a lot of people that have come to a deeper understanding in not only themselves, but how the universe works, is most of the people are awoken by their own traumatic events and their own darkness in their life. And when it got so dark where they felt they couldn't see it, something triggers that birth into the light, into life. And it's so powerful. And I just want to offer that people should always look for the silver lining in their lessons in their lives. So.
Yeah, everything absolutely beautifully said. You touched on several points, and everything comes to pass. So if we're holding on to that past when it's trying to come to pass, it really will hurt. And there's a lot of ways that to make the birthing painless, to make it to there's things that people do know, that women do know, that makes birthing a lot less painless. I wouldn't say it's painless for sure, but we need the pain, we need the trauma. We've used that as the lessons we need, because I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now and feel so damn good about it, so to speak. We'll see what it's like without pain. We'll see if that can happen. And my reality of what I know is that I need the pain to experience bliss. I need the pain to have transformed into what it makes me realize what pain is and what's not pain, versus not feeling pain and putting your hand on the frying pan and just, and you wouldn't even know if you didn't have pain.
Right.
It's there for a reason, has meaning. And a lot of people are addicted to pain. A lot of people actually like the pain. So I want to go back to, real quick, I want to touch on, it was really cool how it brought up the fact that you were in the courtroom looking at these kids not having a voice. I was the kid that didn't have a voice. I was the kid that sat next to the lawyer, scared to death of both of them, scared of my public defender, because they never listen to you. They never ask you. They never sit there and have a communication with you and being like, hey, what happened? They're kind of almost like sadistically speaking to you, talking about how you got to accept something, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, you're scared of CYA. The fact that the judge could actually just pull CYA on you, even if you don't have so much going on. But thankfully, my skin color actually probably got me out of a lot, because I saw a lot of my Black friends and Mexican friends like just get sent off with way less stuff than I had. I think I had like 12 years over my head altogether, because I was in there for 2 years. I was in there off and on for 2 years. So they stack it all against you, and that way they could use it against you, and they get rated and they get funded for your convictions. So that's another thing that's criminal. But like, you should see what it's like, how much stress these kids, we stressed out coming to court. Like, up to court, you're sitting there on the mic, which is the vent, and being like, hey, room 12, what do you think is going to happen to me? Like, people would ask the higher ups like me, like, what's the people that have been there, not higher ups, the people that have been there for longer, like, right, what do you think is going to happen? And I'm like, oh, it's your first offense? Oh, nothing. They're just gonna slap probation on you, and you're gonna go home. You'll go home right when you get back. You'll go home at like 3, and then boom, they get that. They would know exactly what's going to happen. But for us, that had years over our heads and stuff like that, and they never take it off. So you always feel like you have something over your head. They always have something over your head, and then you don't know whether you're going to get Loza or you're going to get the other good judge, because this guy has a huge attitude problem, and then this guy, and everybody's afraid of this guy because he's sending so many people off to CYA, and they don't ever investigate these guys. And then Loza really likes me, so I would always wind up in Loza's court. So he would always be like, no, ain't nothing this kid did bad enough to go to juvenile hall. I think the worst I did was running from a cop in a car when I was younger, to get a few more years over my head, and it wasn't stolen or anything. And so things like that, and things that they never asked me why I did them. Like, I never had a conversation with anyone. Like, even the meditation staff never sat there and talked to me. I had a meditation staff in there that actually came in and taught meditation, and he was actually my best reason for calming down in there. It was at the end of my stint of turning 18 and them dropping me off at the men's shelter. At 18, they didn't take me to transitional living houses, and they knew I didn't have anybody. And so they just dropped me off at the men's shelter and Visalia, and said, have a good day. Because they were done their funding for me. They were done. They weren't going to spend any more money on me. And these guys had me sitting there since I was, I had spent 2 years in there, but I started in there when I was 13, when I ran away from a group home, and had received stolen property. And so I started juvenile hall at 13. And so I ended up at 18. This is like your family. Like, these are like, whenever I'd show up, oh, welcome home, John, or welcome home, Smith. And these are my family that are just now dumping me off at the men's shelter and said, have a good day, not knowing whether I was going to live or not. And then a lot of those people go either die like Crowder. He wrapped Chronister. He wrapped barbed wire around his neck and hung himself from a post in Visalia. Several people got killed, shot, all that stuff because they didn't have nowhere to go. So yeah, it's I never got listened to, like, not once. Not even it felt like my therapist didn't even know how to listen. They didn't even know how to help me. They didn't know, like, they were going by the school jargon and the bullshit. They didn't actually know how to pull out trauma because they're not pulling out their own. You could only pull out someone else's trauma. Like, I'm able to easily do it with people. It's usually one pinpointed issue, and it's usually, I can promise you, it's only one issue from your childhood that I need to pull from, and then out of that was just you're blocking everything after that. Like, a child just block until they get older, and then they blocking until I take them back to that original trauma. But you cannot take someone else and help them, guide them to their trauma, and then them actually deal with it and help them through that process. I do it so easily, compared to a therapist that revisits almost everything from your childhood trying to figure it out because they don't have their own damn shit figured out. So it's just really cool that I'm in the standpoint where I have been on the other side of that aisle where you're talking about, and been the child in juvenile hall and not listened to, and that you see that as a guide. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because it needed to be shared, because I have not been able to even express this to anyone.
Well, I hear you, brother. I love you, man. Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad because a lot of times that's all they need. That's all they need. You know, when you get a kid acting out and breaking stuff and acting violently towards other people, you don't need to teach them or tell them anything. You need to just listen to them, because that in itself is going to just allow them the space to vent their energy without acting out and getting the attention that they seek. Because it's not that people are innately violent or want to hurt things or break things. They just need that attention that they're not getting. And that's one thing that, and it brings the question full circle. How are we having this conversation? Is that something that I make it a point, is when a kid gets back from court, I pull them into the interview room and I say, what's going on? What they say, talk to me. And I just actively listen. And that's another thing that society lacks, is that active listening. And you touched on it earlier, but it is such a powerful tool to hear people and to receive people, because we don't do it. We are thinking about that next thought or a story that we can relate, you know, like you said. Oh, man. So thank you for sharing your part, brother. And I hear you, and I love you, man. It's a really beautiful thing that this has come full circle to that bit that you haven't been able to share. So I appreciate you.
Oh man, I have so much to share about the juvenile hall system. The biggest one before we wrap up is the fact that they're not doing that because, one, they're not dealing with their own trauma, but they get funded for trauma. They make their funding sources come from trauma, not cure. We need to transfer our funding to be able to stay in the cure. We're not going to lose. We're not only going to make, you might have your position title switched, but it was a traumatic career anyway. Like, there should be more money dropped into cure than there is with what's happening now. Because I saw the fact that they're all going to lose their job and stuff, which they will. They're going to lose their title. They're going to lose their job. There won't be need for judges and all that stuff. And the careers that we have, we're going to have to transfer it to the cures, and we're going to have to stay in the cures. You don't only need breathing coaches once and you figured it out. You need breathing coaches for the rest of it. Existence, the breath of life, man. You're going to need people to have retreats that are opted by money that's for the cure, and you're going to need housing for people that are transitioning that are cures. and they're just a continuous cure. And it's like, what's it like? Monsters Inc. They were funded off of fear. And then the laugh was much more potent and made everyone much more richer. And the environment was so much better than scaring the shit out of these kids. And they had a lot more fun. If you notice, the employees in Monsters Inc., they hated their job because they had to scare. And you knew that they hated their job when you started seeing the actual the happiness whenever they would be in these. They would teach these kids. They would be in these rooms and they would be laughing with these kids, cracking jokes and stuff like that, and having fun with each other. And you didn't have to come in at night. It was all the time. They were just able to go in and out and just have fun, rather than try to sneak up on these guys only at night and try to sneak in like a criminal, you know? So we just got to adapt to our new way of, let's stop feeding the disease and start feeding the cure. And just the people that you're talking about, the politicians that show up to work, they're not intrinsically freaking evil. They turn evil because of the choices that are made from the established curriculum. Once they transfer over to the cure, you could release them from Guantanamo Bay and all that stuff and let them be free. And you could guarantee you they're going to be part of the cure. And you have to work towards that and stuff and work with each other. And people are going to have some hiccups along the way, but that's what the cure is there for. If you compare it to before, with not the horribleness going on, the little tiny pieces that hiccup are nothing compared to what's happening in the travesty of horror and doubt and fear and all that versus the cure. So I just wanted to say that, because we need to become the cure and not be afraid to give up our positions and our jobs to transform, because like I said, it's come to pass. And when you hold on to that past, it's going to blast you in the ass. You know, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And versus like, hey, what am I going to be excited about actually becoming? Like, didn't I become this?
Right.
Now I could become something else. So I just want to give that encouragement to anyone that's out there, that's a judge, that's a clerk, that's a typewriter, that's working in juvenile hall. As even our jobs right now as breath workers and light workers are going to change, and we're going to grasp onto bigger and bigger things that would have scared the shit out of us just waking up. So we're getting ready to light this up, and just don't be scared. Don't be in fear, because your life is meaningful and there's so much more. You're worthy of so much more than you have right now. And that's amazing, because I have a whole lot. So, yeah.
That's beautiful, brother.
Love you, brother. Hey, lead us in a little some breath work.
Give me 1 second. I need to use the restroom, and I won't be able to be present if I don't use the restroom.
Oh, me too. No, we're almost done. We're going to do breathing. Yeah, we're going to do breathing. Want to do breathing with us? No. We're just taking a pee break. We're going to the bathroom. Woohoo! Man, really had to go.
What's that?
I said I really had to go. Woohoo! Hey, to drinking fluids. Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers, brother.
All right. So you're going to lead us in this.
One of the breathing techniques that I like to use, and I like to start with everybody, and it really helps bring people into the present and relieve some stress and anxiety, and allows you to feel yourself. And one thing that I teach people is that base of the exhale that you have, that pause, is your true divine self. It is not, you're not your thoughts. You're not all the crazy chaos that goes through your mind. That stillness at the base of your exhale is your true authentic self. So be mindful of that when we do this. And the technique that I like to use is box breathing. So what we'll do is you'll take 4 seconds in, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4, exhale for 4, 3, 4, hold for 4, which kind of feels odd because you're not used to letting out your air and then holding. But if you can get through the first couple rounds, it's a really powerful breathing exercise. So get comfortable, sit up straight, and you inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 3, 4, hold, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to quit counting. Continue on your own. Hold. In. Hold. Hold. In. One last round. One thing you can do when you do these exercises to add on to your experiences, when you inhale positive affirmations, or you can visualize golden light coming into your being. And when you exhale, that stress and that tension that you feel in your body, you can exhale that. So just by visually and consciously thinking of these things through the inhale and the exhale, you can release the negativity, and you can bring in the golden light and the golden protection and just love from the quantum field. So thank you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thank you.
What
Appreciate
another
you.
beautiful conversation, man. Till next
Absolutely.
Sunday.
Yeah. Hey, and if there's any other time where you're like, I need to talk to you, you could absolutely talk to me. Or if there's another time that you're like, I need your advice, or I need to make a video with you because I have a lot coming through and I just need to talk to somebody and I don't want to just waste this information that needs to come through. Let's not only retain it to Sunday. The Sunday is just to keep
Amen.
us consistent. We could talk 50 times a week. I don't care. If there's information to be had and stuff, like, let's do it. I'm open.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Me too. I spent a lot of downtime just reading and distracting myself with video games and whatnot. So I'm always open to create, man. So absolutely,
Okay.
just shoot me
Whenever
a
you
text
have
and I'll
those,
do the same.
okay, I'm gonna do that, and then you do that too. We'll wind up making a lot of create because during the week I think about like, oh man, I can't wait till Sunday. Why? Why just wait till Sunday? Yeah, that's your set point. I just use that as like I didn't used to use my iPhone calendar and now I do. I don't only have that, I have my rituals right on front, right on my screensaver that I created for myself. But I do that because I actually have things to show up for. I created things to show up for. That way there's less distractions. That way I know that this week this day I work on my posting stuff online on marketing. And then this day I work on my website for Transformation Nation. This day I know that I have our phone call. So I'm creating more. And then for 2 days for an hour, I have me and Amy dancing and things like that. And then every morning it reminds me on my calendar to take my turmeric and ginger and water and just keep hydrating. So actually using my calendar like wisely, I didn't used to do that. So like while rounding it with all these different things are just making me a better person. I wouldn't say person. I just learned what that word means, but a better being. A better being.
Yeah, there you go.
A better me. Anyway,
there you go.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for that breath work. That was a beautiful, and I hope it affected everyone like that. And it does take a while to get into the mode of getting used to being able to do conscious breathing like that. So, all right, brother.
Absolutely, brother.
We're off. Hey,
sending you so much love, man.
Sending you so much love and sending everyone so much love and appreciation for your growth. If you're at the end of this video, I just salute you and acknowledge you. And if you want to do some work with me in chat or have any ideas that you want to share with us, feel free to contact either one of us. Appreciate you so much. Namaste.
Absolutely. Much. Namaste, brother.
Peace.